Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Beautiful People. My name is Melissa Hawkland. I created this podcast in hopes to shed some light about how female college athletes view their body in a negative way and how it affects their mental health. I'm hoping that creating this podcast, we are able to have the conversation about body imaging and having the conversation about mental health. I feel this is a subject that is not talked about, especially for female athletes. Before going into details about this podcast, I would like this to be a trigger warning for anyone who gets triggered or feels uncomfortable about the conversations of mental health, body image issues, or body dysmorphia. I would highly recommend you skipping this podcast. This podcast is not to make anyone feel uncomfortable or triggered. This is just to raise awareness for how female college athletes can go through all these conversations. I used to be a college athlete myself, and I struggled with all these issues, and I was very curious to see if other women were struggling with these issues as well. I knew a couple girls on my team struggled with it, and I wanted to know if it was just my team or other teams across campus. So in order for me to try to understand if it was just my team or multiple teams at my school or maybe even teams at other schools, I created a survey and it asked some very personal questions. So it was anonymous, but I was very curious to see the answers of this survey. The survey questions entailed body image issues and mental health and how it corresponds with the team that they are on. The survey held 19 questions and it had 50 participants. 14 were freshmen, 8 were sophomore, 8 were juniors, 11 were seniors, and I had 9 that graduated school, but they were all college athletes during the time they were here. I had a variety of sports. All of them were women's sports. Basketball, dance, soccer, swim, volleyball, and track and field. One of the first questions I asked on the survey was, does your sport make you feel pressured to look a certain way? And 52% of the survey said yes. I also asked, if your sport makes you feel pressured to look a certain way, can you explain why? On this question, I have 27 responses. Now, they're all different answers, but they all have the same undertone. So many of them use keywords. One of the first keywords I noticed was skinny. Here are some answers. You have to look fit, aka skinny. We are all expected to be skinny and tall. Taller, muscular, skinny. You're supposed to look skinny with thick thighs. As you can see, skinny is a key word in a lot of these answers. Another keyword I picked up was half. I have to be, and I have to be this, or I must be this. One was, I must be fit and fast, or you aren't good, but you also must be built, so you don't get pushed around. I feel like I have to look like an athlete to be one. Because I am an athlete, I need to be fit. Another word would be need. I do feel like I need to be thin to look good in a swimsuit sometimes. Some of the other answers I got were explaining why they felt like this from their team perspective and from a social media perspective. So one of the answers was social media, magazines, and other sports teams. That causes this specific person to feel pressure from their sport. A couple of answers that included their sport were most volleyball players are tall, skinny, and athletic. So I try to be tall, skinny, and athletic, even though I have thick thighs and a big butt. Another one, including their sport, was as a dancer, you're usually supposed to be very lean and flexible. Having extra, in quotation, weight or natural curves is usually frowned upon because it's a stereotype that makes it harder to do. Another one says all soccer players have to have big legs because that's what the professional players have. And D1 girls also have big legs and you're supposed to be flat-chested with abs. Another one said swimmers have big backs and I typically don't want that. So she's saying that since she is a swimmer, her sport is making her feel like she has to have a big back, or that's the stereotype, or that's what's being pressured on her because that's the norm for her sport. As you can see, I got a lot of responses on this question, but there was one that stood out to me the most, and it said, the pressure to be slim is always present. Now, this took me back because I had multiple teams take this. This could be from any given team. It doesn't matter if it's dance, swimming, soccer, volleyball, golf, anything. It doesn't matter where it's from. This person feels like they have to be slim, and the pressure of being slim is always there. And you can see that's the whole undertone of all these answers for this question. You have to look skinny. I have to look fit. I have to be an athlete. They are feeling pressured to look a certain way when half of the answers say, I don't look like that and I still play my sport and I still do good. The fact that these girls know that there is a standard that they think that they have to fill is insane, and no one's telling them that they do not have to look like that. Since the athletes feel like they have to look a certain way from the pressure of their sport, I asked, do you think your sport has made you view your body in a negative way? And the answers I got varied. 56% said no, so that's 29 participants. But I also had 27% say yes. I had 11% said maybe, and then a couple fill in the blanks. So it was about even of a yes and a no. The follow-up question was, if your sport has made you view your body in a negative way, can you explain how? I had a lot of keywords again, like skinny. One of them said, I feel not skinny, or I eat too much, or not enough that I'm not going to perform well. Another one says, I'm not as skinny or as fit as everyone else. One of them just says, not skinny enough. Within these answers, I again had the same undertone of girls comparing themselves to either how they used to look, or how they're going to look, or to their teammates. Here are a couple examples of those. I'm always in a tight swimsuit. There's no hiding your body. Even being mid-size, I feel huge in the pool and around the team. Being way chubbier than everyone else. I'm not as skinny or as fit as anyone else. One of them said, after you're done playing your sport, you're magically supposed to be skinny and a petite person, or stay as muscular as in shape as you were when you were training 3 times a day. One of the answers said, I'm fat, ugly, and I don't look like all the skinny girls. Having muscular legs. I see girls with skinny legs and I want to look like that, because having muscular legs isn't attractive or feminine. One of them said, just comparing to people who are really good in your position and you want to look like that. As you can see, so many people view their body in a negative way because your body is going to change when you play a college sport. That is given. But I don't think it's talked about enough for people to truly understand what that means. There's an answer that stood out the most to me for this question because it is a direct correlation between body image issues and college athletes. The answer was, because I am way thicker / fatter than when I came in because of lifting. So she's saying her body is changing because of her sport, because she has to lift, that the lifting is making her view her body in a negative way because she has gotten thicker. So this athlete that wrote this says that they are way thicker because of lifting, because of playing their sport. And that's making them view their body in a negative way. But no one is talking about this. Why is no one saying, don't compare yourself to everyone else? You're a college athlete. You work out so many times a day. Your body will change. No one is telling these young women this. No one is saying this. Coaches aren't saying this. The NCAA, the athletic department. No one is telling them this. All they hear is lift more weight, run more, do this. How do you expect these women to perform and put their body on the line if they don't view their body in a positive way? Someone's going to give out. Something's going to happen because there's no mutual respect on both ends. The player doesn't respect their body, and usually the coaches don't understand or not respecting how the player views their body. We need to meet in the middle. There needs to be a middle ground. And until that happens, college athletes are going to feel like this. This is why I'm creating this podcast. This is why I decided to do this topic. I experienced this, and I was not silent about it. I was very vocal about what was happening to my body, what was happening to my mental health, and how that is relating to my sport. I was shut down a lot, and I started seeing my teammates being shut down. So that was something I couldn't stand for. So that's why I left college athletics. I still see young women still struggling with their body image issues because no one's talking to them about it. No one's telling them that it is okay. So they're suffering in silence. I want people to be aware of this. I want high school athletes that are going to play a college sport to know what you're getting yourself into, because this is not what you hear about on a recruit visit. You hear about the money you're going to get. You hear about all the amenities the school has. You don't hear about how much your body changes and how your sport can affect your mental health. That's what we need to be talking about, especially for young athletes, especially for young female athletes who are already struggling with body image issues. I hope this podcast was insightful for some people, and I really hope it makes some people upset as much as it makes me upset that no one's talking about this. Let's hope that this will start the conversation and the stigma around body image issues and mental health, and view it in a positive way instead of a negative way. Because these athletes are no longer going to suffer in silence. Their voices need to be heard.